I struggled a lot initially with how are people going to view me. I just spent 7 years going through school, it's a lot of money, and now I'm working for a pavement company. I mean, I know I shouldn't have worried what are people going to say, what are going to people think, but
Tell them about your phone call with Eli.
oh, I called Eli before I signed my offer letter. Oh, my voice was quivering. I had tears running. I was trying to keep it together, but I was a mess. I called my friend Kim after, and I started bawling, and she goes, "Why are you crying right now?" I'm like, "I'm about to leave healthcare, and I'm starting this new job at a pavement company, and I don't know what I'm doing."
All right, well, it's been like 2 weeks since we
Since
sat
you
down
were
together.
here.
Yeah, so we had a couple things. We had Trey step in and, keep the train rolling. You guys shared a little bit about how you first met, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how that was a journey to eventually dating.
Yep.
And I don't know if you saw the title of the last episode, but keeping it somewhat, was it kind of professional?
Kind of professional.
Which is hilarious. So for all of you watching, my name is Vinnie. I'm co-hosting. This is the Perks and Paving. So if you guys want to introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Mark.
And I'm Paige.
And just in case there's some new viewers here, what do you guys do here at the Pavement Group?
So I just transitioned into sales for the Pavement Group. So I was a coordinator when I came in, project coordinator, and just transitioned to sales in August.
Nice.
And I am now a project coordinator. I help assist Paige, and I'm also part of the special projects unit with our company as well.
Very cool. Very cool. And I think that's a good springboard into our conversation because those things are very different from what you described last week when you guys first met. So let's kind of walk through that, right? So where did we leave off? When you guys first started dating, or?
So I think working in healthcare was where we left off.
And what year was that?
2021 was when we made the move from Florida to back here in Pittsburgh.
Okay. So take me through that. What was the decision like? Why did you come back here? All those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was in the middle of COVID, and things had definitely changed with where we were working, new policies implemented, schedules being changed in the middle of the global pandemic. And pretty much one night, we were sitting in bed, and we were both unhappy, kind of what was going on with our situation as physical therapists. And also just during that time too, things were kind of crazy with where we were living in terms of influx of people and changing populations, and just everything was getting so condensed in South Florida that she was randomly on a Sunday night was like, well, let's just see if there are jobs within the same company, but back where in Pittsburgh. So it was like Sunday night around midnight, and we're Google searching, and there are 2 jobs listed in Gibsonia, PA. And I'm not familiar with up here at the time. And I asked her, is that close to where you grew up? She says, that is where I grew up. So I applied. One was a center manager position, so it would just be a transfer from one clinic to another within the same company. And by Tuesday afternoon, I heard back from the manager of that area. And by the end of the week, it was a matter of when can you move up here and start. And then from that week, for the next 3 weeks, we moved.
I started crying.
I was going to say, that's big news right there.
We moved, and then once we got up here, in terms of getting married, I'll let you take it over.
Yeah, so we had a month off from work, maybe a month and a half until, find our new place, what we were going to do living-wise, and we were like, we're never going to have a month and a half to be off from work and just do whatever we want. So he goes, do you want to elope? So we just started Googling cool places to elope.
Mark.
And
there was a lot of, our initial idea was to do a destination wedding, again, in the middle of COVID, and with some of her family members, and also part of my family being a little bit older, traveling to other countries. It was just in the middle of the heat of it. It was kind of, a very complex situation. And
we also looked in Florida. There was this mansion that we were going to rent, but the kicker was you could only have like 40 people there because it was COVID, and they still were following all those guidelines and precautions. So we just decided, heck with all those plans. It was too hard. How do you pick and choose when I have a large family? So 40 people was going to be tough.
And what part of Pittsburgh are you in at this point?
So when we moved back, I was in my hometown of West Deer, where I grew up.
Gotcha.
So.
And I mean, it had gotten to a point where it was really frustrating. I said, you know, I am so sick of not being able to call you my wife, and let's pick a place that neither one of us have gone, and let's plan it, and let's just go.
Wow.
And we'll figure out the rest later. So,
Dang.
So we had about 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and so I actually picked my wedding dress. My wedding dress came in 4 or 5 days before we left. I had a seamstress do the last minute alterations, and off we went to Moab, Utah, and and
So wait, okay. Was it number 1 on the list?
we just
Yeah.
looked at photos, and they were incredible photos, and we just wanted to have a unique off-the-wall experience and make the most of the
Yeah.
situation that we were, you know, in the middle of with
I love
COVID
it.
and everything. So, yeah, we found so a girl that I knew in Florida, she had eloped as well, and she had used the same photographer, and her photos were breathtaking. So I reached out to the same gal. She was able to help us out in the time frame that we were needing, and
what are the chances you remember the photographer's name?
Haley Nord.
Nice.
Haley
Shout
Nord.
out,
Shout out.
Haley.
You're the best.
What did you put your Instagram in the description?
Yeah, no, she does
You guys
a lot
want to
of
go get married in Moab?
Yep. Yeah, she is incredible. So she helped us plan with all of our vendors, and I mean, we didn't have much, but flowers, cake, anything else that we wanted to do that day. She planned all of the hiking we did, so we literally had hiking boots on, and
Wow.
we were just frolicking around Moab. We did Dead Horse State Park in Canyonland, and we said our vows as the sun was setting, and
Dang, this sounds beautiful.
it
You make
was
me shed a
beautiful.
tear. We're gonna have to show some
Yeah.
pictures. That you got some.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sure you'll give us some pictures we could throw up here.
yep,
Because I feel like that's the only way to get the full,
for sure.
impact
sure.
of it. So,
Yeah.
so take me through the wedding day, right? Like, what was that like? Were you nervous? Like,
Not
did you
really.
think you might drop a ring at some point on the
No,
hike? Like,
I was never nervous about that. You know, it was kind of interesting because we're staying in a hotel room, and obviously she's gonna get ready on her side, and I'm just hanging out, and I'm passing her a beer through the Woodbury door, just trying to keep everything nice and relaxed. And then I remember we took separate cars. She went with the photographer for our first look, and I drove the car by myself, and we met up. And the day was just great. I mean, going through all the parks and seeing some of the views. One thing I always say about that part, like, silence has never sounded so quiet out there. Like, especially in Canyonland, that was my favorite part. I mean, it was just stunning views, and like you don't hear a single word or anything,
Yeah.
and it was just awesome.
And, you know, I feel like a lot of the times weddings are so much about other people, and it was truly just about us.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
it was us from the start of the day to the end of the day, and we had fun together. And it's not traditional, that's for sure, but
Yeah.
our family supported us. When we came back home, we did something small on Mount Washington with our families, so that was
Nice.
nice that they still had their moment with us.
right.
And then we had a first anniversary reception / vow renewal in Cancun. It
Dang.
was
Awesome.
epic.
That sounds
Oh,
amazing.
It was awesome.
Did you invite a bunch of people, or was that just you guys as well?
No, it was like 25
Yeah.
people that came with us. Mostly, we had a handful of family, like our parents and my aunt and uncle, and then the rest was just
So that
our
was
friends.
2022.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
It was
are you
awesome.
doing it again in 2023?
Oh, let's just renew the vows every year.
That's
You
what
know?
I'm saying, dude. We'll do a podcast.
Yeah.
Can you guys renew your vows on a podcast?
Yeah, right?
That would be so sick. Has anybody ever done that? Have you ever got married
but
on a
in
podcast?
Cancun, we can't
Right.
keep
It's
it
gotta
in
be
the
on
office.
site.
Okay.
No, we have mobile mics and
Yeah.
board. We're good.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
yeah. I'm down. So I'm just this is how you can get invited to somebody's Cancun wedding.
Yeah.
Just be like, I'll do a podcast for you. What if that became like a new thing? You know, like people were like, I'm sure there was like the first person who was like, bro, I got a whole video of my wedding. That had to be a first. What if it was like, yo, we're gonna turn it into a podcast. We're gonna mic up the bride, and like, you know, all right. Anyways, back to you guys.
Yeah.
So you get married, go through the first year of marriage, you're working in physical therapy,
Yeah.
right? So what's that like? Are you guys still, because I know you said you were frustrated about how things were going. Were you frustrated mostly because of the pandemic and like the response to that? Or was it like you were frustrated and then the pandemic was the last straw?
Yeah,
The latter.
the latter for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, PT school was tough. I mean, probably one of the hardest things I've ever done outside of the Grand Canyon. But no, it was really hard. You know, lots of late nights in the library, lots of tears, stress, money. It was tough. So I think I was so excited to start my career as a physical therapist. I knew I was going to make an impact on people's lives. And I quickly realized that I wasn't being provided the right environment and the appropriate amount of time to actually make a lasting impact on my patients. And that really was tough for me.
So you're getting to a point with patients where maybe their insurance is kind of cutting them off from receiving care, and you have to turn these people away because they can't afford it.
Well, very broadly, reimbursement rates with insurance companies continues to drop every year.
And COVID, that was a big turn.
Yeah, and so in response, you're expected to see more people with making less money. And, there are therapists, depending on your patient population, every scenario has its own rules and regulations. But, if you're able to treat active people who are young, and are very mobile, sure, you can treat 2 or 3 at a time. But when you're working with patients with dementia or fall risks or, balance issues, and you're kind of forced to
try to
co-treat with several other papers, like, yes, you can do it effectively, but your quality of care that I expect of myself of what I want to provide for these people goes down. And it was getting to a point where it's becoming pretty frustrating.
And with that, like you said, some insurances, provided us, they had rules that were different than others. So patients would see, oh, so-and-so gets undivided attention for an hour, and I'm here with 3 other people. Like, why can't I have that? And they don't understand, what we are able and are not able to do with billing, and that dictated a lot. And it's unfortunate, but I mean, patients would get upset. We're trying to do the best that we can, but essentially management and insurance companies is like, how can we bill more? How can we see more? How can we do more? And when you just want to help people, it becomes really upsetting that you're not able, and essentially impossible.
One of my biggest things that was really frustrating was, I graduated from PT school, I earned my credentials, and to be dictated on how to treat people when that's what I've spent my entire adult life studying and how to do was something that was very irritating. I understand healthcare is a business, and I respect that aspect of it. But again, I'm the one making the personal connection with the person. I'm the one who understands what they need, and I know how to improve what they're coming in for.
No
but
doubt.
To be told on how to do it because this makes more money or this or that,
It's just wrong.
Yeah. So, okay, so the first year that you're here after you get married, right, are you working for the same company, just a location here, or?
Technically, yes, it was a sister company. So I did really enjoy my time with the company that I worked for the most when I moved back. I was working between 3 different companies part-time, just so I had a little bit more flexibility. And I did enjoy the company that I was working for, but I was still, unfortunately, seeing a lot of those same trends. And I was wanting to get out when we were still in Florida, and I thought maybe when I moved up here that I was going to dive into opening my own business, but then I realized that I don't think that was where my heart was pulling me.
What kind of business? Would it be in physical therapy?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing home health, like outpatient home health, and do like cash-based in people's homes. So that was what my thought was, and we kind of went back and forth. I was going to start and bring him on, once we financially could afford to do so. But I just something just wasn't. There was something missing. Something was holding me back from making that jump, and I don't know what it was at the time, but I'm typically pretty much a go-getter with something
you guys literally
I was
got
holding
married
back
in 3 weeks. So I don't think there's any doubt that you guys, when your mind is set to something, that you're going to make it happen. So there must have been something pulling on
some
you.
reservation, and I can't really pinpoint what it was, but definitely.
Well, hey, I'm glad that you didn't. Personally, I think we all are here. So let's go from 2022. You guys go to Cancun. How did you get here? Let's just ask the question. How did we go from that to this?
When I first moved up here, I opened a brand new office for the company, and my patient service specialist is what they're titled, was Angel, who is Eli's wife. And we worked together at that office for, I think we made it a full year. I can't really remember. But, she would talk, obviously it was very slow. It was kind of it is in a very rural area. And so we had a lot of time to talk and get to know each other. And she was telling me about Eli and the Pavement Group. man, like that sounds pretty cool and that sounds interesting. And she was just
at that point, I was trying to get into sales. I was thinking more medical, but he had mentioned it a couple times. Well, Angel keeps talking about the Pavement Group. Like, you should look into it.
And all positive things, people don't, it's very rare if it's ever happened that people walk out of this place and leave or quit. Like it's never happened, I don't think, as far as I know, which is awesome. And she was trying to get a job in medical sales and was having difficulty. I said, you know what? I said, why don't you go and work for this company and see what happens? As like worst case scenario, you're there 5 or 6 months and it sucks and you get something on your resume, or, this is a decision that 5 years from now we look back and this completely changed our lives. And so let's just see what happens.
When did that conversation happen?
So
Before
we
or after
went
the
to Eli and Angel's housewarming party. And we're sitting there and there's a whole bunch of people we don't know. And Brian was there and we just sparked up a conversation with him. We realized he was talking a lot about the Dolphins that day, and we put the connection together that he had lived in South Florida. And we're like, we lived in South Florida. So we didn't get an opportunity to connect a ton that day. I think they were going home to install some grass behind their house or something. But I just, he was talking and I was instantly inspired. I think anyone who talks to Brian is instantly inspired and wants to be a part of whatever he's a part of. And I think immediately after that, I sent him an email and sent him my resume and said, when can I come in and meet with you? So pretty much from there, the rest is history. So.
Were they in this office when you came in?
No, we were in the old office across the parking lot.
So you've seen this thing really take off over the last year.
Yeah.
Year and a half. When did you start here?
August of last year. So
I mean, you were only here, like that's the crazy part for me, is because like I came in November and that was like the first, and then we had the baby in January.
That was like the first. I thought that
was
was like the week that wasn't it pretty soon after you started that you
my
had the baby?
official like start date was like December 1st.
Yeah.
And then I was like, honestly, Brian, like I have so much work before the end of the year to finish up that like I'm willing to work from home for this first month and like get onboarded, but like I can't be here much. Yeah. And then I was like, and then I have a baby coming the first week of January, so appreciate the the value, the confidence that you have in me, but it's gonna be a few months of onboarding, and that's like the one thing that for me is like so different about this place is that like there's like this common goal that everybody on the team has. And like, yes, there's like a textbook, this is how things should be done. But as long as like your values and your morals line up with like the mission of the place, like there are ways to make everything work. You know what I mean? And
I was just telling her, like, I know a lot of people like who work in offices and stuff like hate meetings and stuff like that. I love that Monday morning meeting.
It's fun.
Dude, it's it's amazing way to start off the week. Everyone who's in the office is in the same room, and we get to see everyone throughout the country who works for us as well. Yeah. And just to start off the week that way, talk about where we are so everyone's fully on board, knows what's happening. Yeah. The goal expectation is set. We're told what to do, how to do it to reach that goal. I don't know. I look forward to them.
I think the hardest I've laughed probably, and I don't know if I should tell this story because I don't want to be embarrassed, but like.
Do it.
Shout out to our guy, Chad. Okay. So Chad comes in, he's newer to the team here, and one of the things that he's been helping us with is like kind of like running that meeting, because for a while that meeting was we'd literally sit down and be like, all right, who's
talking
who's supposed to start this thing? And Brian would be like, well, I guess I will. And then he would just list some numbers, and then we'd be like, all right, on with our day. Yeah. So like Chad's now kind of coming in with like a itinerary, and not to make light of like 9/11, but I'll never forget, he sits down and he goes, all right, let's start with a moment of silence for 9/11. We're like, all right, random fact. It's illegal to own more than 2 gerbils in Germany or something like that. And that was the transition. And I laughed so hard. And it was everything in me to not like bust. Like I was laughing inside myself.
So funny.
I felt like I was in like an office scene. Yeah. Like the scene from The Office where like I was Jim like looking for the camera. Like,
this is in real life.
I love Chad. So, it's not like, I'm not talking trash.
No,
Chad, that was my favorite part of any of those
I do
meetings.
agree, though, that he has provided a lot of structure to those meetings. And He's doing a great job, but it's a lot of fun.
It's not easy to do that.
No,
When
but
you got a million different people coming in there on Monday morning, and you have like all these different tasks that you have to jump into, and then you're like, all right, let's all come together. So he's doing a great job. And honestly, I've seen a difference in everybody over there as far as like just feeling like seen, heard. Not that they weren't before, but there just wasn't somebody in-house to like be here every day.
Yeah.
And so now having him here, like I've seen a different, side of like a bunch of other people, because like it's creating more space for them to do their job well.
Right.
So
For sure.
shout out Chad.
Yes.
All right, so I guess last question maybe, and we can continue this. This is your podcast, so you guys just tell me what you want to talk about every day. But I would like to know, like, do you have any? Obviously, like you're gonna say no, you don't have any regrets, but do you still have that like desire to help people through the medical field?
Through the medical field, I don't think. Not right now, not with the way things are. I'm very happy doing what I'm doing now. I'm able to help people. I was telling him the other day, maybe I'm not helping people in the same way, but if I can prevent someone from falling in a pothole and never having to go to physical therapy, I'm still technically helping
There you go.
them. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm still able to help people. I still feel just as fulfilled. We're doing more here and helping people more and being more of an impact, I feel, than I ever was in healthcare. So I am completely content and so fulfilled with what I'm doing now. So my answer is no.
Yeah. I don't have a regret. There are certain things I do miss, though. I do miss, when I first moved up here, I was doing a lot of travel work in between offices just because I wasn't having a steady caseload.
Sure.
But to walk into a clinic where people have been treating 8-10 visits, and you walk in there and they have 40 minutes, and they're like, where can I come to your office? Or just making that one-time impact where there's like, I feel so much better. That kind of stuff I miss a little bit.
Right.
But I don't regret my decision coming here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will say though, I don't think it was as much of a difficult transition for you as it was for me,
Really?
because he saw.
Yeah, you were first.
Yeah, I did it first, and I struggled a lot initially with how are people gonna view me. I just spent 7 years going through school. It's a lot of money, and now I'm working for a pavement company. I mean, I know I shouldn't have worried what are people going to say, what are going to people think, but
Tell them about your phone call with Eli.
oh, I called Eli before I signed my offer letter. Oh, my voice was quivering. I had tears running. I was trying to keep it together, but I was a mess. I called my friend Kim after, and about something totally unrelated. I was asking her if I could bring another one of our friends to a party she was throwing, and I started bawling, and she goes, "Why are you crying right now?" I'm like, "I'm about to leave healthcare, and I'm starting this new job at a pavement company, and I don't know what I'm doing." And she's like, "It's gonna be okay, Paige.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fine." And the thing is, you can always go back to being a physical therapist.
Yeah.
I can always go back. You can always go back. I think anyone that leaves any career, you always are going to have those skills. You can always go back.
Right.
And I think we've come to realize a lot with having left the field that there's a lot of people in healthcare that feel the same way that we do. And I think nothing's going to change if you don't make a change. And fear is going to keep you exactly where you are. So if you're not feeling fulfilled and you want something different for you and your family, and
just complacency. People who have been treating for 20, 30 years, and all the time in the social media groups that we're both a part of, I've been treating for 30 years. Like, what else would I do?
But there's so many transferable skills. I mean, between what we did and what we do now, I mean, you still have to have great communication skills. You still have to be great at building relationships with people. You still have to handle difficult situations and quickly problem solve.
Yeah.
You still have to be great at documentation. And those were all things that we had to do on the day-to-day, and I still do those day-to-day. So yes, maybe I didn't have pavement background when I came here, but those skills definitely transferred here and made those aspects of my day-to-day a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
no doubt. And
I never would have made the jump if she hadn't.
You
Like,
don't think you would've?
is my inspiration and was my inspiration for going, because I was one of those people that probably never would have left it. She even says it too. Like, you know, I was identified, and it's true. I identified as a PT, thought I would never be anything else, always being helping people in the medical field. And then she was a huge inspiration.
That's amazing.
Being able to see someone do it, be super successful, and just take off. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
I was worried.
Yeah. I mean,
Because just because I like something doesn't mean he's going to like something. You know what I mean? And that's what I told him. I go, don't blame me if you come here and don't like it. And
I had exposure to it. All started really at the Christmas party last year.
right.
I mean, that's where it really started. And she won Rookie of the Year award, and everyone just was so
That's awesome.
generous with
And
like telling her that
inclusive.
she deserved it, and like absolutely, and it was awesome to see like that kind of camaraderie and teamwork. And then wasn't shortly thereafter we got to attend the TCS event in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, cool.
And that's where I think it ripped the door,
You know,
swung wide open.
For
I was
me
like,
too, going
this
to
is-
Vegas was a game changer because you see like, wow, like we are really making an impact in this world,
Yeah.
and like people are really looking to us for answers.
Yeah.
And I mean, even just being willing to be like, hey, we're figuring out these answers, and people being like, all right, let us know when you figure it out. It's like, all right, there's work to be done here. For me, it was like I kind of like can relate to what you're saying because I was very nervous to sign mine too because, you know, I was freelance and just doing art. So it's like, I know that if I sign this, I'm going to be putting less paint to canvas. I'm going to be building something. And are you okay with giving this up to get this? And for me, it feels like a slingshot. Like, I feel like being here is going to allow me in 5-10 years to literally like pick up a paintbrush every single day if I want to. Like, it's going to create that space for you guys to maybe even give back to that community that like, and like speak into the things you don't like.
right.
And then you got,
Make
you
a
know,
change,
money
have
and
a
power
voice to
and
make a change. Because
ability.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm glad that you guys are here. I'm glad that you love it. I'm glad that you were, you know, bold enough to make the decision. And, you know, I'm glad that you guys are willing to do the podcast with me. This is like a highlight for me every week. I was out last week, so I was like really, really bummed that like I couldn't be a part of it. But obviously my homie Trey, like,
you gotta re-listen to the one with Trey, because that's what I called our director's cut. We threw a couple other things that we held back with you in there.
Okay.
So
all right, yeah, just so like this is like if you've made it to this point in the podcast, you're part of our inner, you know. We recorded the episode last week with me, and not gonna shout out anybody for not plugging in the mic. Swing.
So Trey was take 2 of that episode.
So yeah, Trey, I was like, honestly, like we could re-record it, but I was like, there were so many things that you guys said that I was reacting to in like real. We don't try to have these conversations and then film them for an audience.
Right.
We try to film the conversation the first time because you get a real raw reaction.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to get on there and be like, no way, that's how you met. And like, you know, just like faking it. Because you can feel that through the camera. So I was like, Trey, you sit in, let them tell the story to you. He crushed it as always. You guys are, you know, fluid and able to adjust. So thanks for doing that. I'm happy to be back. Is there
Glad
anything?
you're feeling
Glad you're
better.
back.
Thank you. Anything that you guys want to add before we sign off?
I think that I just want to tell people that are in a place that they're not feeling fulfilled, that you have the opportunity to guide your life in any way that you want. You just have to make that change, be committed to doing that, and just because your goals and aspirations don't align with a goal that maybe you thought was your career path when you were 17 years old, that doesn't mean you're a failure. I think it's a sign of self-growth, and I think if you keep that in the back of your mind when you're looking to make a big change, whether it's career or anything else that you face in your life, you're going to be able to tackle it a lot easier. So
No
not
doubt.
failure, it's self-growth.
No doubt.
yeah,
Recalculating.
inaction is not an option. If it's something that you've been contemplating and you just think and think and think, you got to make a move. Take the first step. Commit, take your first step, and then take the next step, and keep going until you get there.
That's great, guys. Well, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. We'll be back next week. We're going to drop this, if you're listening on the day, we're going to drop this a day later. So we'll be back on Wednesdays is what I'm trying to say. So we'll be back. We've been a lot of crazy stuff between your schedule, with me being in, you know, sick and in the hospital and all that stuff. Nothing crazy, by the way. But anyways, this is the end of the episode. I'm just, let's land the plane here. See you
See you next
guys.
week.